Welcome everybody to today's webinar where we're going to talk about some really awesome topics, which is bringing in real cash from your sponsorships and donations for your organization. My name is Jim, and we've got a couple really great presenters who are going to join us today. Dylan, who is Director of Operations from LeagueSide, and Laura Lugo, who's on our customer success team here at TeamSnap, are going to join me, and we're really excited for that. Today is a continuation of our webinar series that we've been running throughout 2022. We'll continue into next year. This is a chart that we share at every single one of these and sort of talk about where in your season process does raising money sort of live. And the amazing thing is that it's across this entire landscape. You're always in the fundraising, collecting money, working with sponsors or donors. So a cool thing about today is it doesn't really matter where you're at in the season. This is all opportunities for you to be able to raise some funds for the organization. So today's agenda, we're going to talk about LeagueSide. What is it? You may have seen the news, recently joined the TeamSnap family of brands. So really excited to talk about what that is today and what you can do to collect sponsorships through this exciting platform. Then we're going to transition a little bit and talk about ways and show ways to collect donations through registration, either through direct donations or during your season registration, and talk about some tips on how to increase those, the money that you're bringing in. And we're really going to look at that in sort of a workshop format, where we're going to look at a website demonstration that we put together, a web page that sort of talks about the different initiatives we have we're collecting money for, and then go into a couple different registrations to see exactly how to format that. So many of you have become registration experts over the last few months as we've talked about it. This is just another way to use some of those features and capabilities to help increase the fundraising that you provide back to your organization. So without further ado, I want to invite my friend Dylan onto the webinar to jump in and talk a little bit about LeagueSide. Hey, Dylan.
Hey, Jim. How's it going?
Awesome, man. Thanks, and welcome not only to TeamSnap, but to your very first TeamSnap webinar, where we're going to talk about LeagueSide today.
Thank you. Excited to be here. I've heard great things about the webinar series.
All right, well, that's good to hear. First and foremost, Dylan, let's talk about LeagueSide. People are tuning in who have been to the last few webinars know that I've spent a decade or so in the space. I've always heard about the need to raise money, sponsorships. I've actually served 1 year as a sponsorship coordinator. But during that time, I really didn't find or hear of a platform that really brought direct sponsorships and cash sponsorships to the organization. So maybe talk a little bit about what is LeagueSide and a high level of how this works for organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. And definitely understand the pain point of being that sponsorship coordinator, and a lot of that was started is a reason why LeagueSide was started in the first place. Is we saw that it was very difficult for these local youth sports organizations to find sponsors and more specifically bring in national and regional companies as sponsors. And there's a lot of interest on the other side as well for national and regional companies who want to support local youth sports organizations. And that was the impetus for LeagueSide, and it's really like how we've grown as a company to serve all of our youth sports organization partners. So what we do is exactly that. We help bring national and regional companies as sponsors to organizations like everyone on this call, local youth sports organizations. And we're really helping to simplify that process of finding, sourcing those opportunities, and making it really easy to execute. Because a lot of the feedback that we're hearing is that it's just difficult, right? Like, it's hard to find people, it's hard to convince businesses to come on, and then it's hard to know what to do and how to do it once you have them on board. So what we've done is mastered that process and made it really easy to get opportunities in your inbox and give you all the resources and the information in order to be able to execute those very simply.
Yeah, it's I was actually talking with the coach last night at a game we had. We were talking about sponsorships, and I was talking to him a little bit about today's webinar, right? The content we were going to go through, and he said, it's interesting. He's on a board right now, and he says, you go through like the operations, the coaching, and as you're handing out volunteer assignments or board members, it seems like sponsorship is one of the last ones that get assigned, but it's actually one of the more specialized ones to be successful. And really what you guys have done is to help really take all the things you need to do, the sales effort, everything, taking that off the organizations and really deliver it back to them, which is what they want, which is cash.
Yeah, like you said, it's one of those things that makes a huge difference, but it's oftentimes at the end of a thought process in terms of, what do I need to do to run my organization? And we know everyone's super busy, especially if you're a volunteer, and oftentimes you're not thinking about sponsorships. So we want to make it really easy for you to think about it.
Cool. So let's actually let's dig in and see how this works a little bit, right? Um, to go
So
over. So you talked a little bit, you're connecting some of the brands and stuff, but here's a little bit more of the details. I know it's free to join. Any organization can go to leagueside.com, sign up, add their organization. But what does it mean? Are we talking like $5 or $10 sponsorships? Is this big stuff we're going to buy a new facility? Is it right in line with what organizations are used to? Talk a little bit more about some of the specifics around how this works.
yeah, so oftentimes we're coming in, at a pretty significant sponsorship value, more than a lot of our organization partners will typically see on average. So, our sponsorships average $1,500 per sponsorship, and that's on a seasonal basis. And packages range in terms of the price, anywhere from 500 to 2,500. And really, that's dependent on who the sponsor is and what they're looking to do. But those packages might include a variety of things that are probably familiar to a lot of organizations that have done sponsorships before. And that could be, hanging banners right at the fields, printing logos on jerseys, sending out promotions on social media or email. Activations like events, like having the sponsor on site. So, in terms of what it actually looks like, a lot of it's going to be familiar if you've had a program before. And if you haven't, that's okay too. We have a lot of educational resources around, what the sponsor looks for. And then we do a lot of the legwork with actually setting up those as well. So yeah, and then in terms of price point, like I said, it really ranges, but averages around 1,500, which we've seen to be a pretty significant amount.
Right. And one of the things around the packages, I think we're going to look a little bit about what, in a second here about what that looks like. When you talk about hanging banners, jerseys, uniforms, some of the logistics support, and I'm, having seen a little bit of it, right? There's a whole bunch of different types of sponsorable assets or things that are out there. Is that for the club then? How does that work? Are they putting those together? They're printing that out? If they've got a process, what if they don't? How do you help guide them on some of that part, which once you bring in the sponsorship, you got to fulfill it, right? How do you help organizations sort of complete that part of the process?
Yeah, it's a great question. And we throw a lot of these terms around, but part of it too is we'll be very clear with exactly what that means, right? So for example, like a sponsored banner, right? That's something that we actually will print and ship to you as part of the sponsorship, no cost to you. So that's outside of that $1,500 average. So that's the same with a lot of these different things that are involved with the package. So things like banners or warm-up jerseys, which some sponsors want to do. All the creative content. So for example, like the sponsored digital post or email, right? If you're thinking to yourself, I have no idea what I want to say, I don't have time to think about writing something like that, that's okay, we got you covered. Our creative team and our sponsors are helping to put that together in a way that's also coming from you. And obviously we want that to work with your organization, but the intention is to make it super easy. So things like banners, jerseys, coupons, giveaways, things that are physical and required as part of the sponsorship, we're often sending those. The one exception is game jerseys, right? If you all are printing jerseys for your players, and we don't want to interfere with that process. So what we'll do is give you the logo, right, and ask for a mock-up for approval, so the sponsor can sign off on that. But otherwise that's your same process, and those are often higher value packages because of that slightly added cost of the sponsor logo addition.
Awesome. Well, maybe let's use this as an opportunity to transition to see exactly like how this works, because what I've heard so far is LeagueSide works with national brands. I, as an organization, sign up for free. You connect them, then everything that they need to do, you help guide, and if for some of it, you'll even put it together in the mail and ship it out for them to hang up or coupon or execute. Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah,
So it
and
must be really difficult. Maybe not. Well, let's look at it. Um, Before we though, like there's a lot of sponsors that are out there. This is continuing to grow. And the number you talked about 1,500, but talk about some of these averages or organizations who have already seen success in using this.
Yeah, so these numbers are growing constantly, and this map is growing constantly. This is just a snapshot, but what we do is we work all over the country and in Canada as well, and sponsoring across both major DMAs and around major population centers, but also even across rural areas and just really blanketing the country with different areas. So don't think that like if you're not in a major area you can't get a sponsorship. We're definitely different sponsors have different areas that they want to target, and I would always recommend signing up and being a part of the platform, because there's constantly opportunities that don't depend on location that are available.
Right.
So we're approaching 3,000 organizations that have been sponsored for almost 6,000 sponsorships, and we like to bring our prior partners more opportunities. So we love to develop long-term relationships, right, and be able to bring you opportunities over time. So it's something that it's typically not just a one and done thing, and we're gonna try to work together and optimize over time to keep bringing you sponsorship season over season.
Nice. And so going through timelines, because one of the reasons we sort of, went fast and wanted to talk to people before the end of the year was because of how calendars work. So you work, organizations have to sign up. You've worked with your national brands and then are distributing those or sending out uh, uh, opportunities, right, that the organization could select from. That typically will happen at the beginning of the year, the beginning of the quarter, because that's kind of how big corporate cycles work. So talk a little bit about that timing and what anyone watching today who's an organization needs to be aware of to make sure that they're able to take advantage of those as quickly as possible.
Yeah, so our sponsorships work on a seasonal basis, and we have, we look at it as the four seasons, right? Like, winter, spring, summer, fall. And some of you might play year round, and that's totally fine. But our sponsorships still tend to run on that seasonal basis, for our sponsors. So right now we're
I got to
focusing.
imagine, John, that's advantageous for an organization, right? There's not just one. It's not like one season and then you can't participate, but there may be an ice cream or winter themed campaign that's going on during that season. They could also have something in their spring or summer season as well.
Yeah, there's more opportunities, over the course of the year. So, yeah, and right now we're focusing on ramping up for the spring, right? So we're onboarding a lot of sponsors right now, and a lot of our sports organization partners are updating their information in our platform, and they're starting to receive opportunities, and we'll get into like what that looks like, but this is the time when over the next couple months you'll receive opportunities ahead of the spring, and be able to review those and ask questions, and we'll have that back and forth, be able to set you up to execute for the spring if we have an opportunity. And like I said, as we get closer to the season, we'll send you those assets, and then how it works is in order to, right, like after you accept the sponsorship and we send you everything, right, like we'll send you checks as you complete the sponsorship, and you're able to send in verification photos of those in action and complete sponsorship actions along the way in a centralized dashboard, which will show, and be able to unlock checks and sponsorship amount as part of that.
Awesome. All right, let's look at that. So we do have a video going, so pay attention to that, watch that, see what it's like, but maybe you can walk us through what's happening.
Yeah, so like first step of the process, right? Like signing up for our platform Fieldhouse, which is how we will send sponsorship opportunities as well as enable you all to execute sponsorship opportunities. You can add your packages, right to Fieldhouse. So a lot of you probably already have sponsorship packages, and that's great. Like add those in so we can, be able to go out and sell those, right? Because the more information we have, the more we're able to help. So we make it really easy to add that information and add information about your program. So the first step, right, be in the system and engage with the platform.
Sure. And Tyler, our producer, that's always here, certain will be providing a direct link inside the chat. Obviously, our follow-up emails include that, but that will be your first step in signing up for LeagueSide and just making sure your organization's in there and some details to really help in that matching process. All right, I will move on to the next one here. Well, our sponsorship onboarding.
Yeah, and should have mentioned this overall, but just to highlight, like this is entirely free, like the entire way, free to sign up, like free to receive opportunities, free to execute. Like there is no cost, and I just wanted to put that out there. But so right, you're signed up, you're in Fieldhouse. Like next step is the few months leading up to a season, right? And as we onboard sponsors, we will send you opportunities that like you are potentially qualified for. So for these active opportunities, you're going to receive pre-qualification forms, which look something like this, right? And have questions about your upcoming season, about your capabilities related to a sponsorship. And this is where you'll get some more information on what the sponsorship is, what the questions are in order to pre-qualify for that. And this is also a point where if you have questions, right, that's like when one of our representatives too can be able to speak to that and have that conversation around what does it mean to do this, or I actually can do XYZ, but I can't do
right.
This is a point of engagement, and each pre-qualification form is a different opportunity. So responding to those promptly and in full, even if you can't do everything, is a great way to secure sponsorships.
Great. All right, and then specifically from the offers, because that's what everyone gets excited about, right?
Yeah, so at this stage, you are qualified and the sponsor's approved, and you're ready for the offer. And this is really what you can review to see exactly what's in the sponsorship for the exact price point, who the sponsor is, and everything that goes into that, right? And the expectations for the sponsorship. This is a great way to, I'm sure a lot of you have boards that you need to get approval with, and this is something you could loop them into and get everyone aligned on what the sponsorship entails. So you'll be able to review this, accept the offer or decline and provide feedback. And once you accept, it'll kick off a lot of these processes of sending the banners and the checks and getting you set up to actually execute the sponsorship.
Right, and Dylan, I'm gonna actually ask a question here that was sent in. Do you have a sample of a letter we can send to ask for sponsorships? Now, I think that's one of the cool parts of LeagueSide, right? Like, it's not after you fill out your profile, it's matched based on who you are, not that you have to search that out and go request that, right?
Yeah, so we're going to do the heavy lifting of like finding the sponsors, and we're proactively bringing sponsors on and helping to match to capabilities. So I think that answers the question, but let me know if I'm misunderstanding the letter question.
No problem. I'm just trying to get back into my slide deck here. But let me ask a few other questions. So like you have thousands of organizations who are in LeagueSide. What is the actual, like, how many people are connected? What are the odds of, a random organization in Minneapolis, Minnesota here actually getting a sponsorship through LeagueSide?
Yeah, Minneapolis is actually a big market for us. So don't
maybe I'll take it. I want to be careful here, but how about Duluth, Minnesota? They're getting pummeled with snow. I just talked to a friend. How about Duluth? Some other areas.
So across our active, organizational partners, half of them in 2022 received a sponsorship with us, and that's all the Yes. So, that's all the more reason, like, engaging with the platform, right? And like updating information and responding to those opportunities are all ways that you can increase your odds beyond that of, receiving sponsorships. So yeah, that's, kind of the figure from last year.
And you had talked also about the sort of the seasonality to how some of these campaigns work going into spring. So if I were to join LeagueSide today, I might get matched in the spring for a late spring or summer program. There's some time duration there. Do you have other programs or things on LeagueSide that are maybe a little bit more immediate or that I can do in between seasons? Or if I don't get a sponsorship to raise money, are there any other things you talked or have worked on?
Yeah. So, right, the main thing is sponsorships, and those are going on right now. So definitely sign up if you aren't yet. But some other things that we have is we have some partnerships with different fundraising programs that are evergreen, right? They're happening, more consistently, and they're eligible for more organizations. So, for example, we have a fundraiser partnership right now with a program called 100X Causes, and essentially over a 30-day period, organizations can have their parents take 60-second surveys on different national companies, and each survey raises $1 for their organization. So, we've had programs as small as 20 kids to programs as large as 5,000 kids participate in this program, hundreds of programs over the past 2 years. And, on average, they're raising, almost $4,000 for their program over the course of 30 days. So, that one's, yeah, it's like if that could be a great program for you, like it could be really successful. And it's something that's more available across, anyone who's interested, right? And over the course of 2023, we have a number of programs launching, and one's launching in January, February, March. So that's one. If you're interested, we can have you. I can drop an email in for you to reach out to, and that's something that right now we're actively looking for signups for, and we will be over the course of 2023.
Sure. And man, there's a lot of questions here. So we're going to get to those. We're going to take the next 5 or so minutes and go through these. Paul, thanks for the kind words. He was talking about 100X actually and said that he's been using LeagueSide for a couple of years, received over 6,000 sponsorships, easy and great teamwork. So congrats to you, Dylan, for that. Thanks, Paul, for the kind words. But I'm going to jump back into some of these questions. I'm going to actually stop sharing the screen quick just so we can chat through this. Tournaments. So we talked about clubs and associations. Blair's wondering, do you work with tournament operators as well or just teams?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's a growing area for us as tournaments, and that's something that we're actively looking for tournaments for next year. So, like similar to 100X, happy to provide an email and love to get connected on that front and make sure that we have that information for our sponsors.
And Simon's asking, how would this affect an association's current sponsorships? Got to imagine this is a little complimentary for them. This is ability to collect with some national brands, assuming you didn't put together some category exclusivity or some other reasons as to why it wouldn't be a fit. But is this is that the way you view it as well? Complimentary versus something that's a competitive?
Yeah, really it's your decision, right? Like, and we like to make it easy for you, and as long as there isn't like category exclusivity where a lot of our sponsors and organizations in general don't want to have two of the same types of sponsors as their main sponsors, right? And that's totally understandable, but that usually doesn't happen too often. So a lot of the times it's no issue.
Awesome. And Dan asked if this is a great question. I think this is one of the first ones I asked you. Is there a typical amount of players that are needed for sponsors to be interested?
So we tend to say that over 200 in a season is kind of where our bread and butter is. But that being said, it ranges, right? And there's if you're below that, I wouldn't discourage you from signing up, and there's still eligibility for some of our other programs, but it's more often that like organizations above 200 are going to get the bulk of sponsorships.
for sure. All right, and 100x, there's no that can work as well, right? So depending on size is just another opportunity. So free to join LeagueSide, and you can use 100x, and there's a number of different opportunities no matter your size. All right, let's see. Keon asked if this will be available to view later. Yes, Tyler will be sending that out along with some links to the information that we share. And as a company, how do you become a sponsor? So I'm assuming Keon is asking about maybe if you're a national brand, how do you become a sponsor and build a campaign? What direction would you provide there?
Yeah, so you can check out our website, leagueside.com, and there's a sign up form, and one of our sales reps will be able to speak to you about, learn more about what you're trying to accomplish and set you up with a potential campaign.
And we talked about this sponsorship opportunities through LeagueSide in Canada. I think that's a newer market for you. Maybe not as many, but we are there.
Correct. Yeah, it is a newer market, but it's growing. And we know TeamSnap has a lot of Canada partners, so it's Canadian partners, so it's a growing area of focus.
Perfect. Don asked back about, is the club responsible for the notice about the tax deductible contribution? Is there an auto send with LeagueSide once it's approved by the sports team or board? So I'm going to make an assumption here, guessing Don operates and has a not-for-profit, and those contributions are considered tax deductible. Go ahead. That's where my knowledge base ends.
So yeah, we don't ask for the W-9s, so we don't take the deductions, so you don't need to provide that as part of it.
And can a sponsor offer sponsorships to multiple organizations per season?
Yeah, often, for context, like our sponsors are running campaigns that might span several states or nationally, or or it could be more local, like within a certain city or town. So oftentimes, though, it's not just a single sponsorship; it's a broader campaign that they're running.
All right. Man, there's so many. Are there sponsors that you don't accept? For example, tobacco companies, liquor companies, firearm manufacturers, or sellers in different categories. Maybe talk through what that process looks like.
Yeah. So we know, like, community sports organization, like, you have a brand to uphold, and like we're not gonna ask you to have a sponsor who can potentially be controversial. So we do not work with alcohol, tobacco, kind of those brands that aren't appropriate, right? So and then we also avoid, like, political campaigns or candidates or anything like that. So we're not going to bring you anything that's hopefully divisive or going to cause
Sure.
a challenge.
And ultimately, whether it's you have some sort of objection to the brand itself, or it might be a different reason. You have category exclusivity with a bank, for example, or local restaurants. At the end of the day, it's up to you as the organization to decide whether or not you want to accept that offer.
Exactly. Yeah, you will see the sponsor in the offer, and you'll have the ability to make a decision at that time.
A couple more, and then we're going to get going. I sort of promised 30 minutes, but we may go a little longer because I want to get through all of these. But are all of these sponsorships connected at the national level, or does LeagueSide connect directly to local franchises also to draw foot traffic to stores? What is the draw for the national companies?
Yeah, we work with franchise groups, and this is on the sponsor side. I'm assuming this question is coming from. So, yeah, we work with franchise groups, and we have packages and campaigns that are intended to drive foot traffic, and so that's all something our sales team can be able to speak to in a lot more detail, and you can access that through our website, leagueside.com, and there's a sign up form there for more information.
And you sponsor travel teams, league teams, does it matter, organizations? I mean, it's really just about, are you matching in the area, in the season, the number of people they're looking for in the areas. But
Yeah,
no difference between travel, rec, leagues, whatever those look like.
Sometimes we'll have sponsors who have a preference for one or the other, and that will be a determination. But oftentimes it's both are eligible.
All right. And last one, I promise I may even answer this for you. Do you have to be a TeamSnap user to take advantage of LeagueSide? Actually, you don't have to do that. Look, LeagueSide is a great opportunity for your organization to bring in some more funds to maybe make it more accessible to athletes in your community, to help you grow and help support that. And we're going to do that regardless of what you're using. And we'd love for you to be a TeamSnap customer, but at the end of the day, getting kids active and in these programs is what's important. So Dylan, I really appreciate the time today, and I know everyone that was watching. So thanks so much for being here. I'm going to actually reshare my screen, and we're going to transition quick. Laura's going to join us, and we are going to talk about TeamSnap. Hey, Laura.
Hi, Jim. How are you doing today?
I am all right. I got to make sure that I'm on the right screen. I think I am. Sponsorship was awesome. I know you work with a ton of organizations. Why don't you introduce yourself? Everyone's listened to me talk for the last half hour. How about 30 seconds of Laura?
Yeah, so I am Laura Lugo. I am a customer success manager here at TeamSnap. I've actually been in the sports industry for about 5 to 6 years already, so this really comes close to heart. I love doing all this, especially we're going to dig into donations and, having LeagueSide a part of TeamSnap is just such a bigger cause. We're doing so much for organizations, so we want to keep making sure that we're being here and we're supporting our organizations.
Sure. Well, I know you got a lot of experience in this, so thanks for taking the time.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about kind of two different paths here today, right? So, fundraising is this big topic. We just talked about sponsorship. Now we're talking about donations. And, I put together this slide because I'd like to encourage, and I've done this before, about creating donor programs and also collecting collecting donations from your members, right? So donor programs, it's end of the year right now, right? There's different times where people are just looking to sort of make some sort of donation, whether it's for tax purpose or they just want to support a program, and they're doing this, give to the max day, these types of opportunities. They're not really signing up for anything, but they want to collect money. And that's something that you reference or talk to and refer customers and to set up a registration for that. Is that right?
Yeah, definitely. Even if you're not running a season, I always recommend like maybe having a donor program set up or just a donation registration form. You never know. A lot of people, especially right now, end of year, tax purposes, people want to give donations and be able to support local organizations. So I always encourage, open your registration, open a donor program, a donation somewhere where people can just go and give.
This also, I guess, thinking about it, will create a sort of built-in maybe mailing list. So an end of the year tax, donation for tax purposes might be next give to the max days, next person to be able to do that.
Definitely, and you're building up your organization. So you're building up that marketing list, you're building up your supporters, local, regional, whatever it might be, you're building up that marketing list for sure.
Very cool. And then on the other side, organizations every single day are signing up for the next season, the next camp, the next league that they've got going on. So many different participants are going through that. It's an opportunity to be able to maybe collect donations as well for other types of things. And I know you tell everybody to include something on there, right? What are some of the things that they might be collecting those donations for?
I do. I am a really big, I'm also a really big supporter. Like my son plays, we host some things. So I am a really big supporter of at least putting some kind of donation in there. Maybe it's like a uniform or a goal. Maybe your organization has a goal to, get a new scoreboard or get some new equipment for the season or donations for the fundraiser party end of the year season. So I always recommend putting that kind of stuff in the form because you never know, parents sometimes or even volunteers. I know some parents don't always have the time to volunteer. So if you want to opt out of the volunteer option, why not put a donation in there to volunteer instead of, having to be there? You can, donate and use that.
Right, that's a great point. All right, now we're going to do a couple things. So I promised this was a workshop, so we're going to actually jump into clubs and leagues, see what that looks like in the back end, and then look at sort of those two examples and registrations, plus a bonus. We did a little web page, and we're going to talk through why we're going to put some of that content out there. But we're going to set up a donor program. We talked about this earlier in the week, where just how important that is. We have programs inside clubs and leagues that are like, our leagues or a camp that are coming up. But running a donor program allows you to aggregate all those people. They got them all into one place. You might even have donor events that you're using TeamSnap to share when those are going on, send out messages. So I think that that's an important thing we're going to look at. And for today's example, we're going to create a dedicated page to initiatives. Something we'll talk about in a second is that by sharing specific reasons as to why you're asking for donations, drastically increases the amount that you're actually going to collect and the number of people who are doing that. So we're going to show a page dedicated to those initiatives. And in one of those registrations, we're going to create a donor program called the Tiger Club. Super fun for those spot donations, kind of the end of the year ones. We're also going to jump into a sort of season registration and show how you collect some of those additional donations there. Ultimately, all of them being in one place in our financials. So that's great. Cool.
Yeah, let's get started.
Awesome. So this is a web page that I put together. This is my demo page. People have watched other webinars, are familiar with this. Some of the things that I recommend is to get people excited, right? You can ask for money, right? And I think back to, I got a high school age daughter. We go through this a lot. Asking for money is one thing, but saying we're going studying, do you have $20? Changes my, time to get that $20, right? But setting up programs like this and communicating, sharing some photos, you mentioned scoreboard upgrade, right? Like sharing some designs or graphics. This has got to be something that may or may not be common, but drives people to actually engage and do this.
Yeah, especially if there's a goal attached. You want to make sure, people are more prone to donate when there's a goal attached. So that's a great thing to have.
And putting this together, very simple. We've gone through, the plus sign's your friend when you're putting your web page together using website builder, and just adding photos, dragging, dropping, placing those in there. Super simple stuff, but is really effective.
Yeah, definitely. Especially having that TeamSnap website connected to like your registration, being able to have it all in one place, that really ties in everything together for your club.
Right. And so making any of these changes are super simple to be able to do that. So once I've got that web page up and that helps direct me, one of the things that I love to do, and the reason why I do this is because people will ask questions. How do I donate? What can I do? There's a million different things. What are you collecting for? Copy, reply to email, send, right? The same thing we talked about tryouts last week. Just create that page to help answer questions. So not only does it help bring in more money, but it, makes my life a little easier to just answer the repeatable stuff.
Yeah,
You agree?
definitely.
All right, so I'm gonna go back to this one. I'm gonna stop the editing so we can jump in and talking about programs. So we're not gonna go into all of this. We've sort of done this in the past, but I put together a sponsors and donors page. And what we wanna be able to do here is actually set up a registration to collect donations, right? So what are the things that I should think about maybe that are different in setting up a donor registration versus my full season registration?
So think of donor maybe, think of like your registration, you're just taking regular donations. Like maybe somebody just wants to donate money with no, there's no attachment to it. Think of a donor more as like it's very specified. Like there's a donation for the scoreboard, there's a donation for equipment. There's a very specified goal when you're setting up a donor. So you have two different versions of what you can use, because then you can go back. So now that we have a program, we can go and actually use the financial reporting, all of the different aspects for that specific program. We can even send that money to, just like if you have a bank account where you're just all your donations are going to, you can set that up as well. So it can all be separate from your regular registrations that are coming in. So you have a lot of more flexibility on how you want to set up the donor program.
Sure, and we're looking right now at the back end where I'm sort of asking some of these questions. first thing that stands out to me is I got far fewer questions here, right?
Definitely.
People have heard me talk about this in the past, only collect data that which you need. So you don't, you're not wasting time, but you're also not collecting a bunch of information, sometimes personal information you don't need, right? So very, very basic, very simple. If I need to make it required or optional, it's simple to add. In this area, I put company name, right? Inside the registration, some people are donating on behalf of a business or organization. And that's very simple for me to be able to add into there. One of the things that are also here are participant fees. Talk to me really quickly, participant fees and form fees, because we've got donation opportunities in both of these, but what's the difference?
So the participant fee, think of it as your season fee. So if you were having registration open, that's the fee for the participant, right? Think of your form fees as any additional money that you might want to collect. So any donations or any fee, maybe you have an annual fee or something like that that you guys charge, that's where you want to think about the form fees. So registration is due to your season, form fees are more additional fees, anything extra that you want to add.
Really cool. And this one is set up as our donation registration. And I did a little pro tip we talked about last week, where I've actually I think of a donation and even a program. So in this example, we created our 2023 Tiger Club. And on our web page, what we talked about was this gives you some benefits, entrance to, admission to any home games, 10% off at concessions, access to special events, discounted community. These are very easy. If I just print out and put it at our concession stand or have them show it, I'm on the team in the mobile app. There's ways to do that very easily just by using these tools, right?
Yeah.
What I did, little pro tip, is I said if you buy the Tiger Club and I place as a participant fee, it can automatically roster you onto this team. And now inside TeamSnap, I'm in the 2023 Tiger Club. Any events or messages or things I want to do, I'm really using this as kind of like a built-in program, right? Our Tiger Club created a membership program where I'm collecting donations and giving some of those benefits.
Definitely. Membership. Think of it as a membership. Like this is a membership. If you're going to go out to the events or the games, you can just show it on your mobile app and, use it as a membership.
Yeah, you print it out, you've got it. Like one of the things I think people are, overlook at times is just how simple it can be and doesn't need to be a complex, membership platform to be able to do that, but this is a great way to be able to do that. And then alongside that with our form fees, a few of the things that we've placed in here and we've got some recommendations is, as you noted earlier, talk about the initiative, give them the options to be able to donate to very specific things. I may love watching the scoreboard, so I may want to provide some opportunity there while also giving a general donation where they can input whatever numbers that they want at that point, right?
Correct.
Okay, and adding these are simple. We've got these adjustments, but if we were to go actually look at the form and let's see like how this shows up. So I'm gonna go and actually log in. Imagine that I clicked on this back from our donations page, right? I'm going to register this participant. You don't really have to add much more. And now I go on to this next page. And what will happen here, the way that I configured it, I could sign up for the Tiger Club as an individual or family, which I could program to say it gets all of my family members in for those benefits. I could select to maybe sponsor a half season for somebody, and I may want to be a supporter of the scoreboard. Kind of cool.
Yeah.
When I continue, it shows all of those fees for me.
Definitely. So you can see all of that. You can even split it into payments. So even if they have the opportunity to say like, hey, I want like a monthly membership type of thing, you can still split that into payments. I know a lot of people kind of don't. They're like, oh, the membership is not an option. It is an option. We can definitely make that an option through using the TeamSnap registration by using the installment payments.
To maybe make that bigger donation a little bit easier, more consumable by doing that on a monthly basis.
Correct.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, if we were to, so that would be a very simple way. I've got that on my website. We're given the availability for people to be able to make those spot donations and participate. But as we also talked about, what would it look like if I wanted to include this in just, regular season sign up from, our participants? And what would be some of the recommendations maybe that you would have in coaching an organization who's, maybe has some big ticket items in their spot donate? Is this one more like we're already spending a lot of money, maybe some smaller amounts for more people?
Yeah, so you can definitely do the smaller amounts, like added within your registration as a form fee. It could be like a donation, just you set your own amount, or you can do specified, like maybe it's a small donation, medium donation, and each of those have their own amounts tied to each other. So whatever they decide to want to donate, you can add that.
All right, and I'm just going through as everyone's watching me right now, see that I'm collecting these fees, and then the form fees, which will be presented after I select a season, right?
Correct.
Maybe just making a simple donation, 25, 50, or the, occasional one, like a whole bunch of smaller donations, right?
Mhm. And I know, Jim, you talked about like you having a club yourself, and you've used the donation, so you've seen this money come in.
I do. It's something that I was actually sort of surprised, and I remember, I think it was, my dad when I was younger just said, the worst thing someone can tell you is no, right? In asking a question, but it's 100% no if you don't ask, right? And as I've gotten older, I remember that at times, and I've actually done that. And we've used some of the in-season donations. It's an ice hockey program. It is a little bit more expensive, and we are sensitive, but we also recognize that even $10 or $15 donations times a couple hundred, which actually has happened, does add up. And we actually use it to sponsor our financial aid and our scholarship programs. Those go directly back to athletes being able to participate that maybe otherwise wouldn't be able to. So for us, it's about creating accessibility, and I know our families appreciate being able to share that to those who are, sometimes unable to be able to do it just because of finances behind it.
Yeah, definitely. I always encourage to, all of you probably who are TeamSnap customers have a customer success manager. When you're walking through the onboarding process, bring that up. Say, I have sponsors. I want to do a sponsor program. I want to do donations, and we'll walk you through the process to make sure that you're getting that set up correctly.
Perfect. All right. As we, came back to this example, and I would encourage people to go back, look at it, and see that. I mean, we've got some next steps, a few things, and I'll go through this really quick. We're going to send out a survey. We're planning a 2023 webinar series. We've talked about a lot of stuff this year, from websites to registration to tryouts, raising money, sponsorships today, right? But complete the survey. We really appreciate your feedback as well as topics for the future. Go out and join LeagueSide. Link is here. Tyler's also going to place it in the chat. TeamSnap, you want to try it out? Sign up for a 21-day trial. It's a free trial that's out there. You can try out all these capabilities, including setting up registrations and trying that out. And also, Laura and team, connect with you and learn just about ways to use some of these tools to be able to solve business problems.
Yeah, definitely. Always here to help.
All right, I am going to jump over. Oh, here we go. Let's see, LeagueSide. I'm going to jump ahead. Can donations be set up for reoccurring payments every month on the 15th and drafts 20 from the donor? I think Laura's still around. You can come back. There you are. There isn't an open-ended until canceled type system, right? It's just I don't know what's the right one for our platform for right now. It also doesn't allow you to create finality into benefits, right? Which is a thing, right? You want to create newness, you want to get excitement around it. That's how I'd recommend. But I'm going to guess what you'd recommend is to follow on with the 12 monthly installments or the monthly installments or of something to break up those payments a little bit.
Yeah, there's also another way that you guys can do it. I always recommend if it's not the registration part of it, you could do it through the invoicing. We have an invoicing feature where you can also add installments. So say there's a sponsor who's giving $500 and they want to break it up between 5 months. You can use the installment payments on an invoice as well, because then you can go in and update that as well. So you have multiple options on how to use the invoicing and the registration, the whole TeamSnap system.
That's a great point. I mean, in theory, you could assign them to a team, they can join that until canceled, and you can send out that monthly invoice, which goes in their email. It also shows up in their mobile app. They can just tap it and make their payment there. So a really kind of easy way to do that. What about non-monetary donations? Great question. I'm not really sure how to that one, if you've got like drop-offs or in-kinds, or it may be something in the registration where you just want to like talk to someone. So that might be a contact or someone to reach out about what it is and how it might work. Another question, is there a difference between being a sponsor or a traditional advertiser on the TeamSnap platform? The terms interchangeable. I think that we kind of got some different teams there for sponsors. That's really, LeagueSide is really going to be the sponsorship platform that we're working with, connecting those national brands. But they also are a part of our team that has a very robust, platform, advertisement platform as well. So, here's what I would say: stay tuned. 2023 is going to be exciting for brands to be able to participate in all of those. And I am going, how do you get to the programs under TeamSnap? Is it a separate module? I would recommend reach out to your customer success manager. This is the latest clubs and leagues, version 2 that we released last spring. We have a lot of people who have upgraded from that and have upgraded, honestly, from other platforms into there. So we're excited about that. Your customer success manager can get you all set up from that and help you create those. But our next steps are everything we talked about. We're going to go ahead and get going. We promised everybody to be out of here by 1 p.m. Central or 12 p.m. Mountain Time. I guess that we're on. Laura, thank you so much for joining today. Really, really appreciate it. A little bit of additional follow-up. I hope you all have a very safe holiday season. It is a great opportunity for reflection and closing out the year and getting ready for 2023. Be sure to watch your emails for any important links. We'll be sure to send those out. This video will also be available for you to be able to go back and watch, or to share it and help others in your organization learn about this. I really appreciate you trusting your time with me today, and appreciate you trusting TeamSnap for being the platform that your organization uses to run all of your programs. So signing off for 2022, and we'll see you again in 2023.